Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting, the April 28th, 2022 meeting of the Staunton City Council to order. I apologize for my voice. Yesterday I had 6.5 hours of dental surgery, so I'm a little swollen under this mask, so I won't take it off, I promise you. At this time, on April the 26th, 2022, I received a request from Mayor Oakes to participate remotely in the April 28th, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a personal matter that prevents her physical attendance at the meeting. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, I will now ask Mayor Oakes to state the personal matter which makes it unable for her to attend tonight's meeting. Mayor Oakes.
I'm in Austin, Texas for my daughter's wedding.
All right, congratulations. All right, I will now entertain a motion to allow Mayor Oakes remote participation in this meeting pursuant to Staunton City Council Procedural Memorandum Number 3.
Vice Mayor Robertson, pursuant to Staunton City Council Procedure Memorandum Number 3, I move to allow Mayor Oakes to remotely participate in the April 28, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a personal matter.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Mayor Oakes, can you please state the remote location from which you're participating again?
3121 Palm Way, Austin, Texas. I'm at the Archer Hotel.
Can everyone on council and in the audience hear Mayor Oakes? Thank you. I will now entertain a motion or that's it.
We need to call the roll.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Kylie, if you would, please.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dull.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Madam Mayor, I turn the gavel over to you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item is a consideration of regular meeting agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes.
Councilor Darby.
I would like to move to amend the regular meeting agenda to include item C, a consideration of a resolution requesting Governor Youngkin to veto House Bill 902 and Senate Bill 283.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Claffey.
I'd like to second that.
All right, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Kessiker, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dull.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
No.
Ms. Mead.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor Oakes, I'd like to add an additional amendment to the agenda.
All right. Do you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yes. I move to amend the regular meeting agenda to add a closed meeting after matters from the public to discuss candidates for the Equity and Diversity Commission.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilor Dole. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Claffey.
No.
Ms. Dull.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
No.
Mayor Oakes.
No.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
No.
Ms. Mead.
Aye.
Motion fails.
All right. Thank you. So the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. The next item is an invocation and moment of silence. And tonight is Councillor Holmes' turn. I don't see Councillor Holmes in attendance. Is there anyone that would like to fill in for Councillor Holmes? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and fill in. If we can please just take a moment of silence for Ukraine and just remember the struggles that they continue to go through. I think that it's very important as the United States that we stand in solidarity with Ukraine. So if you could please take a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, the next item is the mayor's report. We have a proclamation for Arbor Day. I'd like to read the proclamation. The City of Staunton, Virginia Proclamation, Arbor Day 2022. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the City of Staunton is being honored this year for the 26th time as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Staunton City Council that April 29th, 2022 is hereby designated as Arbor Day in the City of Staunton, and Staunton City Council urges the residents of Staunton, the region, and communities across the country to celebrate Arbor Day, to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Adopted this 28th day of April, 2022, Andrea W. Oaks, Mayor. Now, Ms. Beauregard, I believe you have the proclamation in its finest form. If you could please present that to Matt Sensenball, our horticulturalist for the City of Staunton. And Matt, if you would like to say a few words.
Good evening. Thank y'all for having me again. I'm making my annual trip to City Hall. This is our 26th year as a Tree City USA. It's been like everybody else. We've had a lot of challenges to deal with over the past year, but we've kind of muddled our ways through it. Couple nice things that we've been able to pull off. We were able to work with Dr. Smith and Shenandoah Green and get about 38 more trees planted on the school grounds back in the fall and help them meet their goal of planting a tree for each school-age child. We've also been able to finish off another kind of unique project here recently with a gift from the Community Foundation, and we were actually able to get the lighting repaired on the watering can and the flower pots. This year for Arbor Day, we're kind of keeping things simple. We're going to visit with the kids from the Bessie Weller after school program through Hart and plant a couple trees and take the bucket truck over there 3:30 tomorrow afternoon and just hang out with them a little bit. So, all right. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you so much for just making our city so beautiful. And I appreciate all of the trees that have been planted at the various schools in Staunton. I know that has been a very special project, not only for the Staunton school system, Shenandoah Green, but the city of Staunton as a whole. So thank you. All right. Next, under the mayor's report, I have been asked by the Staunton Elks to mention that the week of May 1st through the 7th is National Youth Week. And during this time, it is important to recognize the contributions of our junior citizens of our community. And as adults in the community, we need to be role models in providing the guidance our youth needs, along with inspiration and encouragement. So May 1st through the 7th, if you can sponsor a youth in our city in any activity, whether it be through academics, sports, arts, it would be appreciated. All right. The next item is additional items by members of council. Are there any additional items by members of council?
I have one. This is Brenda Mead.
All right. Councilor Mead.
First of all, I was very, very privileged to attend Building Bridges for the Greater Good's What We Lost exhibit on Saturday at Booker T. Washington. I understand, and I lost count, but over 300 folks showed up at Booker T for the exhibit. There were wonderful stories being told by elder members, if I might call them that, of the African American community, and exhibits. Folks were pointing at the houses and the businesses that they recognized and they frequented when they were young, and the Central Avenue Business District was thriving primarily with African American businesses. It could have been a sad occasion, but for many it was a homecoming and a great fellowship, and certainly educational for those of us who were not in Staunton when the demolition of that business district took place. So I was very pleased to attend that. I also wanted to add that tonight I made a motion to have a closed session discussion of the candidates that have been nominated for the Equity and Diversity Committee. I'm not going to mention any names, but my purpose in requesting that we have a meeting is that of the 35 folks who applied, 17 were selected by City Council for interviews, and no one from the disability community was nominated to that commission. And I think that's a gross oversight on the part of City Council. And I'll also say that only one member of the 17, only one person of the 17 had income less than the median income in Staunton. And I think that's also an oversight and an inappropriate, and I think we should have better representation on that commission. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Are there any additional items by other members of City Council?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Claffey.
I filled in today for you as a ribbon cutting at 11 o'clock at Spiro Health, located on North Augusta Street out in north of the Terry Court Shopping Center. And it's a new local, affordable outpatient care for individuals suffering from substance abuse disorders. And it's open for business. It's been open for about 3 weeks. And it was a great event. And the chamber was out, and they had about 15, 20 people for the ribbon cutting. And we're glad to have a new business in Staunton. Please support it.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
This is Carolyn Dull.
Councilor Dole?
Yeah, I would like to add to Brenda Mead's comments about the applicants for the Equity Commission, which I really worry about a lot, because we have no Jewish representation, even though we had applicants who identified as Jewish. Because we didn't get to pick in an equitable way. You know, we didn't have a discussion over like having people identified as having disabilities or being of a certain ethnic Did we get a proportionate amount of Black applicants to be interviewed? No, we did not. And so it's unfortunate that we can't work together to come up with an actual diverse, pool of applicants. So it doesn't make me feel very confident about how this is going to go.
All right, Ms. Beauregard, can you please describe the manner in which the 17 candidates were narrowed down to out of the 35 applicants?
Sure. So we did have 35 applicants. I had originally hoped that we could find the time to interview all candidates. Schedules didn't really accommodate that, unfortunately. So then I provided council with some guidelines to choose their top 18 candidates. I think we had some good questions for them to ask. Once I received all those tallies for your top 18, the 17 that ultimately were chosen for interviews, nobody's nominated yet. These are just interviews, just so everybody's clear on that. Each of those 17, 4 or more of you decided you would like to interview that individual. So we can talk more about this on the 4th, which is our first night of interviews. And I'm hoping we do have a good, honest discussion about that. That would be a good time to do that. So that's where we are right now, in terms of this process.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item is the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the special meeting of April 7th, 2022. Anybody?
This is Brenda Mead. I move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of April 7, 2022.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
All right, Vice Mayor Robertson has second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Ms. Dole.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the work session and regular meeting minutes of April 14th, 2022.
This is Brenda Mead.
Councilor Mead.
I move to approve the minutes of the work session and regular meeting of April 14th, 2022.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Councilor Holmes is second. Any further discussion? I'm hearing none. Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Dole.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That takes us to the regular meeting. The first item is item A, a consideration of an ordinance to establish a budget and appropriation of FY 2023, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Ms. Beauregard.
Mr. Phil Trayer, our Chief Finance Officer, will do a very short presentation before the budget consideration takes place.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Beauregard. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Tonight, we are here to consider the budget ordinance for FY 2023. FY 2023's budget ordinance totals $142,185,506 and consists of the following: general fund, $65,162,000; debt service, $5,386,000; CIP reserve funding, 0; Blue Ridge Court Services, $1,292,000; Water Fund, $10,167,000; Sewer Fund, $9,865,000; Parking Fund, $551,000; Stormwater Fund, $1,913,000; Environmental Fund, $4,297,000; Education Fund, $37,910,000; Cafeteria Fund, $1,874,000; Textbook Fund, $341,000; School CIP, $100,000; School State Operator Program, $3,292,000. Slide 3, the real estate tax rate equals 92 cents per $100 of assessed value. This stays the same. Downtown Service District tax remains unchanged at 15 cents per $100 of assessed value. Personal property remains unchanged at $2.90 per $100 of assessed value. Machinery and tool remains unchanged at $1.24 per $100 of assessed value. Slide 4. Rates for water, sewer, stormwater, and parking remain unchanged. Environmental fees are proposed to increase by 15%. Monthly residential rates are proposed to increase from $20.88 to $24.01. That's a $3.13 per month increase, or $37.56 annually. Ms. Darby, you had asked last week about our neighbors. Waynesboro did increase their rates, I believe, last week from $16 per month to $17.50 per month. Waynesboro has long established weekly collection limits. They have one 96-gallon can, and they have 2 bulk collections a year, which is a little bit different from ours. We pretty much take everything that comes our way. Harrisonburg is not increasing their rates. Their rates is $24.01, which is identical to what ours is proposed to be. So, and Augusta County does not collect. So, okay. Slide 5. There has been some modifications since the budget was first introduced on March 24th. They include an increase in education transfer from the city general fund in the amount of $365,237. Total transfer has been raised from 14.7 to 15,065, which fully funds the school's budget in FY 2023. The animal shelter funding has increased from $139,695 to $152,240, an increase of $12,545. Middle River Regional Jail's budgeted increase has been revised downwards from a budgeted increase of $307,000 down to $273,000. Their budget equals $3.1 million. Social service expenditures have decreased by $33,966 and is being offset by a reduction in revenue reimbursements. We've added a negative contingency of $309,000 in order to balance the budget. And finally, the water fund allocations of $782 have been adjusted and included in the internal transfer section of the budget, has been the historical practice. Slide 6 and 7, real quick, same elements that we had last week. Section 1. Quantifies the FY 2023 budget for schools, city, and proprietary funds in the amount of $142,185,506. Section 2 provides for a 75% appropriation of the approved city budget and 100% of the education fund budget, less 25% general fund transfer to the education fund. Subsequent appropriations are to be brought before council no later than February 2023. This is being done to provide council with flexibility to adjust spending as it sees fit. Section 3, tax rate, real estate tax rate, 92 cents per $100 of assessed value. Section 4, personal property, machinery, tools tax at $2.90 and $1.24 per $100 of assessed values, respectively. These remain unchanged. Section 5 and 6 provides for service charges to be levied on certain tax-exempt properties to include Mary Baldwin and the Potomac Conference Center for police and fire protection. The rate equals 18 cents per $100 of assessed value and 46 cents per $100 of assessed value for faculty and staff housing of an education institution. This does vary from last week. Last week I had 19 cents and 48 cents. I recalculated 18 and 46 cents is the correct rate, and I apologize for that error last week. Section 9 establishes the annual salary for council. This has not changed. Section 10 provides flexibility for the city manager to reallocate fund appropriations between lines during the course of the year or withhold expenditures deemed to be in the best interest of the city. Under this, council will still retain the right to disperse funds as they deem appropriate. And finally, sections 11 and 12 states that any ordinance in conflict with this ordinance is repealed to only the extent that such conflict exists. Finally, any part of this ordinance found to be invalid by competent authority does not invalidate the remaining aspects of the ordinance. Slide 8 provides a summary of the budget and the appropriation. The proposed budget equals 142.2 and a 75% appropriation of city funds. 100% for the school funds, less 25% adjustment for the local transfer, and 75% of the proprietary funds equals $113.8 million. Again, we will come back to council with recommendations no later than February 2023. Slide 9 is just a summary of what we stated above. This ordinance was first introduced on March 24th, 2022, and a properly advertised public hearing was held on April 14th, 2022. Budget work sessions were held on January 27th, February 2nd, March 24th, April 7th, April 14th, and April 21st. And the city managers recommend approval of this ordinance as presented.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Trayer by city council members?
This is Brenda Mead.
Councilor Mead.
Mr. Trayer, can you remind me what the negative contingency was in the FY22 budget?
On the FY22 budget, I believe it was 297 in that range. It was right at 300,000. So we managed to work our way through that, and we'll do the same with this year.
You're sure about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We just don't want to make it a habit.
We are not going to make it a habit, no.
All right. Are there any additional questions by council members or any comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to try.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move to adopt an ordinance establishing and approving a budget for the city of Staunton for fiscal year 2023 totaling $140,185,506, an appropriation of 75% of the related funds, less 25% of the general fund transferred to the education fund. Total appropriation will equal $113,752,384, while fixing other tax rates and fees as proposed, advertised, and considered for a public hearing.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
All right, that's Councilor Claffey, a second. Any further discussion?
This is Brenda Mead.
Councilor Mead.
I am pleased to vote in favor of the FY23 budget ordinance. Even with the risk of a $309,000 deficit or negative reserve, the budget includes full funding for our city schools. In FY22, as you heard Mr. Trayer say, we had a $297,000 deficit. I'm not happy about starting a fiscal year assuming that we can recover a deficit. I know Mr. Trayer is capable of doing magic, and I hope that this year the economy and other issues, perhaps related to the governor's budget, will allow us to work the same magic for FY23. In 22, the $297,000 deficit, the budget included $200,000 for golf carts. So this year in FY23, this budget provides for our 2,500 children in Staunton City schools. And like I said, I'm very pleased and proud to support the budget this year.
All right, thank you. Are there any additional comments?
This is Carolyn Dole.
Okay, clear.
Councilor Dole?
I wanted to take this opportunity to explain why I will be voting no on this budget. And there are 3 reasons. One has to do with the school funding. I think even though council cannot tell the school board how to spend the money we give them, but as a citizen, and as a longtime council member, I feel like the raise should have been higher because we have worked very diligently for many, many years when there wasn't much money to give us the competitive advantage over our neighbors. And because we're only doing 6%, we're losing that competitive edge. So I don't agree with that. That's the first one. The second reason is the negative contingency, because what that means is we're going to take money that would pay for capital projects and fill a hole because we don't have a balanced budget. And I could understand it with COVID because who knew what was going to happen. But for us to do that is just not good fiscal management. And it's meaning that somebody who's been waiting already 10 years to get a stormwater drainage problem fixed that floods their basement every time it's a heavy rain is going to have to wait longer. And that's not fair either. We should have either raised taxes or we should have made cuts in other areas to make a balanced budget. And then the third reason is the lack of consideration of returning to curbside recycling. I cannot get over the fact that we have elderly, disabled, people that don't have a car, people with 3 little kids and can't get them all in the vehicle with recycling and get over there to do centralized recycling. There are people who, for many, many various reasons, cannot do that recycling, yet they're forced to pay for it, every bill. And we've made no effort to come up with a solution. We've been on this centralized recycling close to a year now, and there's been no relief, no alternative to these people who cannot, because of their work schedule, because they don't have transportation. There's a multitude of reasons. And I think it's patently unfair. And so for those 3 reasons, I'll be voting no. And it's the first time I've had to do that.
Great, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Vice
Ms.
Mayor
Mark.
Robertson. Yeah, Vice Mayor
I
Robertson.
just would like to also, I will be voting in favor of the budget because our schools are fully funded. But I would like for Phil, who would, and to go over real quick about the new change that we instituted this year to allow for actual budgeting versus projected budgeting so that this won't happen again.
Sure, certainly. Part of the negotiations this year was working through a future funding formula. Certainly 21 was an unusual budget year where we had less than 30 days to come up with a new budget after the governor shut down. So moving forward into the 24 budget, what we've done is we've actually baselined what the last pre-pandemic budget FY 2021 was with the prior 2 audited statements and using a blend of those prior 2. And in FY 2020, it would have been FY 17 and FY 18, 17 and 18, and then taking percentages and moving that forward. Schools will get another big bump in 24 because you're moving from projected revenue base to an actual revenue base, and then after that it's going to kind of stabilize. So schools will enjoy one more good solid bump next year, and then they're going to have a steady path from that point forward. And I think they're very pleased with that, and it certainly takes any guessing games out of it. Schools will know probably by mid-November, before Thanksgiving, what their budget's going to be, because we'll have our revenues finalized with the auditors.
Good.
This is Carolyn Dole. I need clarification on that. If we're using actual revenues, that's from the past.
Yes.
So if we're going to give them some of those actual revenues and a recession hits, what do you do?
It's probably going to have a little bit of a drag on there.
You think?
We're still working through that.
Yeah.
Ms. Beauregard has the agreement right now, and I think she'll be working with Dr. Smith to finalize the final language. So.
Yeah.
I have a question.
And Carolyn, I think it's going to hit. I mean, it's like it was down 1.4 to 1.4 in the first quarter and probably hit further.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes,
It's
sir.
Jerry Holmes. One, for the school, you won't count 20 and 21 as part of because of the sales and everything were so reduced.
Yeah, 20 and 21, for 24's budget, you'll have 22 and 21. 21 actually, was remarkably resilient, with the stimulus funds that went into the economy. I don't know of a local finance director around that wasn't astounded by the sales tax. It totally exceeded our expectations.
Another thing too is when we did all the assessments on property and then cut the tax back to 92 to kind of balance that out, we really cut our any margin out at all.
We
Basically cut it to the bone.
well, we did have an effective tax increase, but the rate did go down a little bit because of the valuation. There was an effective tax increase.
Well, like an increase of maybe like 2 cents would really be very helpful, wouldn't it?
I will always welcome more money into the budget.
All right. Anyone else? I would just like to say thank you to Mr. Trayer, to Ms. Beauregard for all of your hard work on putting this budget together. I'd like to thank all the department heads and everyone that contributed to making this budget a reality for us to be able to vote on tonight. And I'd like to thank my colleagues for all the time and effort that you've put in researching and reviewing the proposed budget. As far as higher raises for the teachers and support staff for the schools, absolutely. I would love higher raises for everyone within the school system, along with everyone at City Hall, all of the city employees. Everyone is truly worth their weight in gold. I am very happy that we were able to fully fund the schools, and I look forward to having a very productive relationship in the future with the school board so we can continue to fully fund the schools. And as far as the negative, I really feel that the negative contingency, I feel that we were able to overcome it last year, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do it again this year. I feel very comfortable that we will be able to overcome any sort of negative contingency. We do have a healthy reserve, so that is a good thing. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have this budget and we did not have to raise taxes on the citizens at this time. So with that, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
Ms. Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Ms. Dull,
No.
Ms. Darby,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The next item is item B, a consideration of an ordinance to increase environmental fund fee rates. Ms. Beauregard.
I'm also going to let Mr. Phil Trayer walk us through this item quickly.
Madam Mayor, it's good to be back. Slide 10, we saw a review of the environmental fund, and tonight we're here to consider an ordinance to increase the FY20 environmental fund rates by 15%. On slide 11, the environmental fund rate increase was first presented to Council in March 2019 as part of the FY 2020 budget process. At the time, the CFO's plan called for rate increases of 15% in 2020, 10% in 2021, 15% in 2022, and 10% in 2023. It was based upon this plan the City Council increased the rates in FY 2020 and 2021 by 15% and 10% respectively. During last year's budget process, Council elected to defer the scheduled 15% environmental fund increase. Due to the scheduled CIP projects at the regional landfill, as well as local CIP obligations, we are now proposing to implement that 15% increase in FY 2023. The FY 23 rate increase is projected to raise an additional $387,000 in revenue, which will allow the city to meet the CIP needs of the environmental fund at both the landfill and within the city. In addition, the rate increase will allow the city to continue its current service model Bi-monthly customer billing is proposed to increase by $3.13 per month or $37.56 annually. Slide 12, the cost drivers for the increase is primarily the scheduled landfill Phase 5 cell development, which began in FY 2022 with the design of the project for $300,000 and actual construction to occur in 23 for $4 million. Staunton's share is 20.18%, which equates to $807,000 and represents a lion's share of the projected landfill CIP obligations in 23. Other 23 requirements include miscellaneous site improvements and wetland mitigation reserves of $60,000. There's one other major CIP project listed in the regional landfill CIP, and that's the relocation of the scale house and the construction of a new office, which is scheduled to begin in 2024. The expansion consists of an additional outbound scale, which will allow the landfill to more readily capture refuse fees. The combined cost is $1.6 million. Slide 13, we have a summary of the CIP heavy equipment requirements of the landfill that includes compactors, dozers, haul trucks, truck loaders, excavator, and a tarp system. In addition to replacing the heavy equipment at the landfill, the Environmental Fund also covers the replacement of heavy equipment used exclusively within the city borders. The equipment includes street sweepers, haul trucks, and compactors. Slide 14 summarizes what we have scheduled between now and 2026. And slide 15 summarizes the landfill's 5-year CIP. In FY 2022, we are covering the design of cell 5, as mentioned above, miscellaneous site provisions of $50,000, sediment basin cleaning of $150,000, a dozer, a track hoe, and a replacement vehicle for gas monitoring within the landfill site itself. This ordinance was introduced on March 24th, 2022, and a properly advertised public hearing was held on April 14th, 2022. Budget work sessions were held on January 27th, February 2nd, March 24th, April 7th, April 14th, and April 21st, and the city manager has recommended approval of this ordinance as presented.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Trayer? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson?
I move the council adopt an ordinance amending, restating, and reordaining Section 8.30.110 fees prescribed of Staunton City Code to increase the refuse and recycling fees 15%, effective July 1, 2022, as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second. This is Terry Holmes.
All right, Councilor Holmes is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Miss Darby,
Aye.
Miss Dull,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. Ms. Beauregard, you now have your full budget. And again, I want to thank everyone for all the hard work that you put into both the motions tonight that were presented before council. And I just cannot say how important, I cannot say it enough, how important every single employee at City Hall and for the city of Staunton is important to all of us, not only for council, but the city as a whole. So I'd like to thank every single employee within the city of Staunton. Right. With that, that takes us on to item C, which is a consideration of a resolution concerning HB 902 and SB 283 bills. Ms. Beauregard.
Mr. John Blair, City Attorney, will walk through this issue for us.
Welcome, Mr. Blair.
Good evening, Mayor Oakes, Council. Before you this evening, I just want to kind of go through very briefly procedure here. As you know, March 12th of this year, the General Assembly, both the House and Senate, enacted legislation in which Augusta County special legislation may have a referendum this November 2022. The legislation allowed the county to select one architect to prepare two sets of plans, or one set of plans for two options. The first option being what it would cost to move to Verona. The second would be what it would cost to either construct a new courthouse in the city of Staunton or to renovate the existing Augusta County courthouse in Staunton. That was presented to the governor on April the 11th. The governor returned the bill to the General Assembly with proposed amendments, including amendments that would require two architects picked by a circuit court judge to present two plans. Additionally, the referendum itself could not be conducted until November of 2023. And that legislation also had a reenactment clause, meaning the General Assembly would have to reenact it next year in order for it to become effective. The governor's amendments were presented to the General Assembly on Wednesday of this week, April the 27th. The General Assembly, by voice vote, quote, passed by for the day the governor's amendments. What that means is that the amendments were not agreed to by either chamber, the Senate or the House. However, the Senate nor House took a vote on the legislation itself. And so what happens is that original bill passed March the 12th goes back to the governor for action. Governor Youngkin has three options. He could sign the original bill. It would then become law. He could veto the original bill. At that point, that ends the process for 2022 in terms of legislation. There wouldn't be a referendum this November. If Augusta County wanted to have a referendum next year, they'd need to get special legislation passed by the General Assembly and signed by the governor. Or he has a third option, which is 30 days after the legislature acts, he can take no action. And if he takes no action, meaning he neither signs it nor vetoes it, the original bill would then become law. So in talking to you, there were a majority of you who wished to have this resolution presented before you tonight for your consideration. The resolution is fairly simple. It is just a request that the governor veto House Bill 902 and Senate Bill 283, which are the two bills concerning the Augusta County Courthouse referendum. Again, they're simple, and also if adopted by the council, we will immediately send them to Governor Youngkin. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Blair? All right. Well, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes,
Councilor Darby?
I move to adopt the resolution requesting Governor Youngkin to veto House Bill 902 and Senate Bill 283 as presented.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Clappy. All right. Councilor Clappy is second. Any further discussion?
This is Brenda Mead.
Councilor Mead.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. One, I guess I would refer to this as a Hail Mary strategy. We did a very little during all of this negotiation to actually come up with a plan from our perspective other than to just wait and see. This resolution is supported by the Historic Commission. I received calls today from a couple of members of the commission that feel that this is the right move for us. I believe that if the referendum is deferred until 2023, it will give us the opportunity to develop a real game plan, and that we may even be able to repair the damaged relationships and the trust that we've lost with the Augusta County Board of Supervisors over the last period of time, and that we might also have time to explore other options for the court facilities. So I will support this resolution.
All right. Are there any additional comments? All right. I'd like to say that I feel that we have really tried our best in this situation. We've hired a lobbyist. We've had council members to reach out to in person as well as through email and phone calls to different representatives within the General Assembly. We've sent out a previous resolution on the matter, and we're yet once again sending another resolution to try to show our support and keeping the courts in the city of Staunton. So, Mr. Kessinger, please call the roll.
Ms. Mead,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
No.
Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Ms. Dull,
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. That takes us on to matters from the interim city manager, Ms. Beauregard.
I actually don't have anything this evening. So,
All right. All right. Well, then that takes us to matters from the public. This part of City Council's agenda is entitled Matters from the Public. It is a time that Council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. A copy of the Staunton City Council's Matters from the Public rules are available in paper form at the clerk's desk and online at the City of Staunton's webpage. You are asked to familiarize yourself with these rules before commenting. Please come to the podium or begin your call, identify yourself, and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll start with the folks in the audience first, and then we'll alternate back and forth. We'll go to the Zoom callers that have their hands raised, and we'll just keep working back and forth. All right, with that, the public hearing, the matters from the public is now open. Would anyone from the audience care to address the council at the podium?
Hi, this is Alexandra Pitts. This is Mark.
Hi.
We're the Sycamore Street Gang, and we're here to say thank you. Brenda Mead and Mayor Oakes reached out to us. You guys all together helped, and we finally got a 50-mile-an-hour sign on Sycamore Street. It only took 6 years. But anyway, it happened. We have yet to get the people driving up the road to adhere to such. So Mark likes to yell at them and say, "Speed limit's 15 miles an hour." But anyway, we are here to say thank you. We are very gracious grateful that you were graciously accepted our request, and we finally got it done.
All right. Thank you for coming by.
Good deal. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks so much.
Mr. Kessinger, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
No, ma'am.
Right. Would anyone else in the audience care to address the city council? All right. Hearing none.
hold on. There's people.
Oh, okay. My screen is really small, so. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Stacy Sheehy. I've been in front of you all several times in the last couple months. Just to recap, I'm a mixed-main parent, a longtime member of our local PTA, a regular school volunteer, and definitely an advocate for our public schools. As tonight's vote for the budget comes to an end, I want to acknowledge those who stood up and made sure the voices of the community were heard. I want to acknowledge those who have displayed signs in support, to those who have stayed up many late nights away from their families to come to these meetings and to speak. I want to thank those who have donated funds, which were greatly appreciated by all of the PTAs of our schools. I especially want to show appreciation to those who have decided to come out in preparation to run for school board and council this November. So many members of this community and beyond came together to bring awareness to one simple fact, that Staunton City Schools have been and continue to be underfunded. The school board will have the ability to fill 7 desperately needed positions. They will be able to offer better pay to teachers and beyond, which not only benefits the dedicated staff of today, but will hopefully bring in qualified candidates who will keep Staunton schools head and shoulders above their peers. Healthcare costs can be one less worry, especially during a time of a stressful pandemic, which the outcome is still unknown. While the approved budget shortens the gap, let's not forget there is still a long way to go. Public schools across the nation are severely underfunded, and Staunton is no exception. This is just the beginning, and I feel certain this topic will never again go unnoticed in this community. I look forward to seeing City Council work in the upcoming months, if not years, to work with the school board to make a difference in restoring their budget fully. Not because your inbox is full of emails, or because every local news outlet from here to Harrisonburg and beyond are reporting on it, but because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kessler, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
No, ma'am.
All right. Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Luella Hill, and I live at 1201 Jackson Street. I'm here to echo similar sentiments as Stacy. I want to start by saying that my kids beg me for things all the time. They are begging me every day, and usually what they're begging me for is more screen time and sweets. They want more ice cream, another scoop, please, please. But here's the truth. They do not have to beg me for the essentials. They have never had to beg me to pay the electric bill. They have never had to beg me to put protein on their dinner plates. They get to beg me about the extras because we're lucky. So you can imagine it was hard for me this past month to see so many parents, so many teachers, so many school administrators take the time to come out and have to beg for funding for the schools. They were not begging for extras, for treats. They were begging. We were all begging for the basics, for the minimums, and you saw that. It was yard signs, emails, phone calls. I'm here tonight specifically because I was part of a petition. A group of parents put together a petition, and 1,441 people signed that petition asking for that fully funded school budget for the upcoming year. And I want to say thank you because we made it. We got to the agreement. We got to a budget that will work for the upcoming year. Thank you for listening to all of us. I know that we were like whining children at times, but you did put in the hours. Thank you for working with the school board. You did the right thing. I also want to say that you are our leaders, and I want you to feel and believe and see that public education we should not have to beg. We should not have to beg for those basics. It's okay. You know, I sort of had a minute to dream about what would it be like if we got to beg for the sprinkles, for some more screen time? What about a fleet of hybrid school buses? I think that you see, I hope that you see and you know that really abundantly funded, not barely funded, but abundantly funded schools here in Staunton is the one single thing we can do to invest in our community's future. So thank you for listening to me, and I give you all an extra scoop of ice cream.
Thank you. Mr. Kessler, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
No, ma'am.
All right. Hi, welcome.
Yvonne Wilson, 2017 First Street. There are a couple of things that I do need to address really quickly. Last City Council meeting, I had brought up about the issue of violence in our schools. And then the paper newsletter came out and they did an article, and it was said that I am not a parent of any child that's in Staunton City Schools. I need to clarify a couple of things. One, and there were people that actually thought that I was running for the school board, even though I've been saying since 2020 that I was running for city council. One, I did speak to a member of the school board. There may have been a miscommunication. He may have thought that I said that I was running for school board, but I am not. I have not. Second, it really hurt that it was said that I am not a parent of a child at Staunton City Public Schools. So this little talk is going to be something that is personal to me. I used to be a parent. March 9th, 2015, my husband and I, we lost our firstborn son at 21 weeks. I was also raising his daughter, my stepdaughter, and I was involved in their school, taking time out, making sure that my daughter had a decent education. I had to put her on online school because in Arizona, when she was trying to go to public school, she was bullied for being white. So I had to put her in online school. So when someone sits there and says, I'm not a parent, that hurt. I'm a human being and I care about this city. I care about our students. I care about the citizens. I am running for city council so things can be approved on the west end. There's infrastructure that needs to be looked at and taken care of. There's public safety that is also a concern. But to sit there and say because I'm not a parent with a child that is part of Staunton City School, you're making it sound like that my voice and my concerns don't matter. They do. I know what it's like to be a parent. I know what it's like to lose a child. And I know what it's like to want to protect your kids. I 100% agree that our public schools should be fully funded. But I am also of the mind that safety is first before diversity. I don't want our kids to worry about fighting. I don't want our kids to worry about they're less than because of the color of their skin. I don't want them to be less or feel that they're not safe. Do you guys understand that? I need you to understand that. That's why I'm running for city council, because I care. It shouldn't matter whether I'm not a parent. I used to be. And I don't mean to get emotional, but people that are saying things about me, y'all don't know my walk. Y'all don't know what I've been through. Y'all don't know where I've been and what I've done to survive in this world. My husband and I were homeless for 2 years on the streets in Arizona. We've had things stolen from us. We've had people bully us. We've had other people steal things from us while we were homeless. Y'all don't know me. But I want you to get to know me. And that's why I came up here to say what I said. I am not an evil person. I'm not a mean person. I care about Staunton City. I care about the citizens and I care about the kids. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Tessiker, do we have anyone with their hands raised?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Caller, can you please state your name and address? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's Allison Profeta. I live in Staunton. This budget season has been illuminating, starting with how hard our community had to fight on behalf of our schools in order to get the city to fully fund the bare bones schools budget. It was extremely frustrating to hear the city, while trying to defend the fact that they cut school funding, warn the community that our schools would be asking for another $2 million for their maintenance facility, without also providing context to the community about the city's role in the school's need to request that funding. At your April 7th budget work session, the CFO stated that Staunton's juvenile detention costs have gone up by $136,000, which the CFO says is attributed to the city's, quote, increasing share of the population in the juvenile detention center. In 2021, Staunton utilized 49% of the daily bed spaces, which is now far and away the largest percentage of participant use for any of the 7 localities using the detention center. Since 2018, when Staunton represented 14% of the daily bed spaces, Staunton is the only locality whose bed space usage has been rising steadily, the only one. Also at the April 7th meeting, Councillor Claffey asked when inmate labor would be used again. Back in 2019, when I reached out to the city, there was no data being kept by the city about their usage. The city couldn't tell me how many of them are used, what jobs they do, how many of them receive no pay for their labor. Any of the inmate work detail crews who are used on an as-needed basis and supervised by a jail guard on work sites are not paid. There was not a single report to be found that analyzed what savings, if any, are being realized by the city through their use of unpaid labor, and what, if anything, the city could pay to the inmates for their labor and still see a cost savings for the jobs being performed. Our children, both in public schools and in the juvenile detention center, our neighbors and friends and loved ones in the Middle River Regional Jail, these are some of the most vulnerable segments of our community. They're among the least likely to have a seat at the proverbial table. They're among the least likely to have their voices heard and respected. And because 2 of those segments are justice involved, and they and their families are trying to cope with the associated trauma and stigma of that, they're also the least likely to have loved ones who are able to step up and speak on their behalf. In 2020, shortly after the 3 newest members were elected to council, they expressed their desire to purchase a new fleet of golf carts for the golf course. There were several discussions that took place about that potential purchase, and eventually an ad hoc committee was formed to look into it further, which I agreed with. While I may not have agreed that spending $200,000 on those carts was important, I did think it was a smart move to examine the issue closely prior to a decision being made. I remember getting frustrated that at one point Councillor Claffey suggested that financials of the course didn't have to be examined, and that seemed to me like a way to defeat the whole purpose of the committee before it ever got started. But the bottom line is those golf carts still got more of your time and discussion and attention than entire segments of the most vulnerable community members here in Staunton. I called in tonight to implore all of you to treat human beings like they are shiny new golf carts. And I will grant all of you the benefit of the doubt that when it comes to looking at numbers across a series of very long spreadsheets and slide presentations, one's eyes can very easily glaze over. But always remind yourselves that they are not just numbers. And they certainly aren't just numbers that represent cool new vroom vroom toys for a golf course. Very often those numbers you're staring at represent human beings. They are our loved ones, and they are deserving of dignity, respect, and civil rights. And at the very least, they are deserving of the same care and attention as golf carts. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else from the audience care to address the council? Hi, welcome.
Hi. Good evening, members of City Council. My name is Kristen Siegel. I live at 304 Rainbow Drive. First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for figuring out a way to fund our schools for this budget cycle. I would like to also thank the hundreds of people who wrote letters to council, staged a bake sale to raise funds for our schools, displayed supportive signs in their yards and on their social media, and generally gave their support. To all of the businesses who made their support known, we thank you and we can't wait to continue to support you. I think one thing we learned in this process is that the residents of the city care deeply about their schools, their teachers, their staff, administrators, and continuing to do the bare minimum is no longer acceptable. We've seen exponential cost increases in our jail system in Staunton over the past few years, while our investment in public education has risen only slightly. The link between a poor education and incarceration has been shown over and over. High school dropouts are 3.5 times more likely to be arrested than graduates. Nationally, 68% of all males in prison do not have a high school education, a high school diploma. Therefore, investment in education could dramatically decrease the need for spending on incarceration, while also making Staunton a more attractive place for families to move to raise their children, while allowing more money to be funneled into the school systems. We are at a crossroads because of the pandemic. More work from home opportunities exist than ever before. This allows many more people the opportunity to choose where they would like to live, as opposed to having to settle down
due to proximity to jobs. Because of a more mobile workforce, it would behoove us to invest in schools to attract individuals who wish to put down roots, people who enjoy the charm of the downtown, the affordable cost of living, and the fantastic educational opportunities. I look forward to the next council continuing to listen to its constituents and to invest even more fully in our schools. I look forward to the money that was cut during the pandemic being fully restored to the budget. It is imperative that we do everything to attract and retain the best and most qualified teachers and administrators. Do we want to simply continue to do the bare minimum for the children of this city, or do we want to move Staunton into the forefront of education? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessinger, do we have anyone with their hands raised?
No, ma'am.
All right. Welcome. Go ahead.
Dr. Mary Miller from 471 Albemarle Avenue. Talk to you again about thinking, because thinking is derived from where we come from. While grooming horses at Ride with Pride today, I listened to the radio. And today was about a couple who put Jewish children on a train to England in World War II. They saved hundreds of children. Probably doesn't mean much to you, but one of those children was a patient of mine. So tears came to my eyes when I realized that children can be saved. We all have beliefs, and they too come from our past. My life has been full and has been filled with all kinds of people. I believe people especially, but not only friends, have given me a rich and varied life. Therefore, I want to learn more about you, about the citizens of Staunton and the natural beauty of the Shenandoah Valley. Saturday morning, I went to Earth Day on Bell's Lane. There was a large number of vendors educating hundreds of people about our environment. And while we don't own her, our Mother Earth gives us all we need to live. Saturday afternoon, I went to a Building Bridges event at the old Booker T. Washington School. The African American community taught us about the 133 African businesses that had been lost to an idea about building a mall on Central Avenue. As I looked into their eyes, I could see their pride in what had been and their sorrow for what they had lost. Earlier in the week, I read about Paul Farmer in the New England Journal of Medicine. Dr. Farmer was a global health director in Haiti, Peru, Rwanda, and taught future global health physicians at Harvard. He worked to treat and prevent infectious diseases and to correct social injustices. He believed the idea that some lives matter less than others is the root of all what's wrong in the world. We tend to transplant an organ into a wealthy white American before a poor Haitian. Dr. Farmer believed we must connect to the people we serve. And the city council certainly serves a variety of people here in Staunton. If we could all if we all could do just a little bit, look into their eyes, or try and think about what it's like to look out of their eyes, to look from behind their eyes and see the world as they see it. I asked you to think about all the people you serve, including those who are different, the poor, the sick, including those whose poor choices led to their decline, the abused, the depressed, the angry, jealous, and hateful, those who humiliate, intimidate, demean, and control. How can we lead with kindness and do our little bit for healing and justice? let me ask you questions, the same ones I ask myself. I ask, what will be your legacy? What will they say about you when you're gone? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker, do we have anyone with their hands raised?
No, ma'am.
Right. Anyone else from the audience? All right. Seeing no one on my little screen. Thank you. And I'm not hearing anyone else that would like to speak. So I, as the mayor of the city of Staunton, now call the April 28th, 2022 regular city council meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Enjoy the way.
Thank you.